What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be working on the WJ, start knocking some stuff out on this project. And what we're going to start with is a hidden winch mount from HK Off-Road. This is a really popular winch mount in the WJ community. They're super affordable, really high quality. Guy stands behind his work, and I've actually got one sitting over there. So today's just the day we're going to install it. It's kind of a rainy, wet day outside. Can't really do anything around in the yard, so we'll show you what we got over there sitting for parts, get this bumper pulled off, and start the install. Alright, so over here we have the HK Off-Road hidden winch mount. I've already got it primed and painted and bedlined, both the winch mount and the supporting pieces. So that's all painted up and ready to go. This is all the hardware that came with it. This isn't exactly how it's shipped. They got it wrapped up a bunch of times. It's kind of annoying to unbox it all, but I mean, it's it's still a really good winch mount. It's not really a big deal. And then over here we've got the old Amazon special 10,000 pound winch. When you're looking at Amazon special type stuff, we got the synthetic cable and a wireless controller actually. But when you're looking at Amazon special type of things, the brand isn't as important as kind of the reviews that are reasonably recent. So look through the reviews of recent purchases, see what people are going through, excuse me, using it, see what they're saying. This winch actually has really good reviews on Amazon at the time that I bought it, and it had a warranty attached to it and everything else. So I went with this one. Some of the big selling points for this winch going into the hidden winch mount are, first of all, I can remote mount this a little bit. It comes with some extra cable on it, which is really convenient. But another big thing for me, besides also the synthetic cable, is the wireless remote. So that I don't have to come in here and use the clutch switch if I don't need to. For example, if we get this set up in the bumper here, and we're buried all the way up to here in mud, or we're off camber or something, and I just need somebody to grab the winch lead and take it out for me. I can just use the wireless controller. We don't have to fumble with uh, getting back to the clutch. We don't have to fumble with plugging in something into the control box. So overall, it's just going to be a lot better. Now, my Jeep is a 2002 Jeep Grand Cherokee, of course, is the Overland trim. So it's got all the bells and whistles, every single thing on it. So it's got hooks, skid plates. It had the factory lift. Right now it's sitting at about a 2-inch lift with the 32s. I've got the front trimmed. This fender is a different color because the one that came on it was all bashed in and rusty, and this wasn't the right silver, but that's okay. We'll get that fixed some other time. But yeah, I've got the Fox shocks on it from a Rubicon Gladiator. I've got core 4x4 adjustable control arms front and rear with the short arms. I'm going to run it short arms for a while first, and then I'll upgrade to long arms. I've got the 2004 Overland interior, excuse this, with the factory navigation and everything. So, I mean, this thing is as loaded out as you could get one of these back in the day. So, now I'm just working on doing off-road stuff to it so we can go take it wheeling. So, first step is to get this winch done, and then we're going to move on. I've got some, what's their name? Metal Cloak dual rate coils over here underneath these boxes. These are actually TJ coils, but I'm going to show you guys how to put them on the WJ. But anyways, I'm going to start taking the bumper apart and show you where we're going to be cutting. So in order for the hidden winch mount to actually hide the winch behind the bumper, you got to cut out this cross member. There's just no way around it. The kit comes with a lot of areas where we'll be bolting to where the factory tow hooks mount up down into here. We'll be drilling holes in the side of the frame rail once we cut to mount it sideways into here. And it's a lot thicker than this cross member is, so it's actually really, really strong. So don't be afraid to cut this out when you have the kit. And then before we do that, I'm going to remove the grill support here and the headlights because they're part of the grill support, or they attach to the grill support, I mean. We're going to have to remove the tow hooks since we're using those bolt holes. I will be putting these back on. I opted not to get the D-rings on my winch mount because I really like using the factory hooks. I like that I have them. So I opted to maintain these. So anyways, I'll get all this pulled apart. We'll mark right here where we're going to cut on both sides, and we'll jump right into it. Now it's a smart idea before you remove your hood latch, just kind of give it a couple marks so you can see where it lined up before you took it off. That way you don't have to mess with adjusting it just right for the hood to close really easily. I put a line straight up and a line to the side on both sides so I can line up at 90 degrees, and it goes back on the same place every single time. Never had an issue. Alright, so I got the winch set in here for now. I'm working on the control box unit. The box itself is really, really big. And my original thought was just to, instead of mount it right here on top, or off to the side or wherever, because they make brackets that like come off and up this way so you can mount it over the side. Instead of doing that, just set it down into here, next to the motor. I guess the motor's on this side, but next to the clutch here. Because this space is going to be just empty. We're not going to be using that space for anything. And that'd be the perfect spot so that we don't have to cut a big hole out of the grill in the shape of that control box. But it's way too big to fit in there. So I pulled it apart. I'll show you that right now. And guys, this is something you obviously want to do before you wire it all up. Don't want to be messing with this because this is really high amperage. Just because of the thickness of the wires, so you get a pretty good shock out of that. But anyways, got the cover pulled off of here, and what we're going to do is I'm going to disconnect all of these wires. I'm going to write down how they go first, and we're going to unscrew the connector for the plug-in winch controller. And this little guy right here is much smaller than this big old control box, which is not even really sealed. There's no gasket or anything on here, so it's really not waterproof or anything. So we're just going to mount this back up in there behind the bumper. It should be fine. I don't intend to go bumper deep through water, but this will be fused anyways, just in case. So then we're going to pull all these off so that we can remove this right here, and we'll actually cut a hole in the bumper. Probably driver's side. We'll cut a hole right here for the plug-in controller, so that way if the remote ever dies for the wireless one, or we just feel like using the plug-in controller for some reason, we'll have access to it here and not have to dig back down under the bumper behind the grill or anything. So I think that's going to look really good. Another option that people do is they will mount it kind of right here. They'll cut out some of these grill slats and put it back in there, but I don't really want to do that. I just don't think that'll be as sturdy. Plus my grill is perfect. I want to do as much as I can to not mess this up. I've already trimmed the bumper, so I don't mind cutting another hole in it. And eventually I'd like to go to an 04 bumper, so I don't have these slats. I just have the regular square opening, whatever, but that's something. Oh, and I want the round fog lights. I don't love these. Anyways, I'm going to finish getting that apart and set it down in here and show you how it all mounts up. So that pretty much wraps up the winch install, I think. Got the fairly attached nice and good, got the winch bolted onto the winch plate, got our red tag to show everybody that we sprung for Amazon brand. For now, so I cut a little far on these on my initial cut because the instructions actually said to come all the way out to here, so I'm glad I stopped early when I did. So there's just these holes. I'm going to 3D print some panels to cover these a lot better from the back side that are black, so they'll match this all the way across. For now, I've put just this little silver piece in here to protect any rocks or anything from coming up into here and damaging that solenoid that's back in right kind of in this area. So that's why that looks the way that it does. But it's only temporary until I can 3D print something. So other than that, I'm really happy with it. I've got the little controller plug-in right here, and the winch is sitting down in there pretty good. I don't call it a hidden winch for nothing. I'm really happy with it. Wireless remote works really good. And the only other modification that I did, since I don't have the bolt on the sides here anymore that holds the fender or the bumper to the fender, I went ahead and put some self-tappers in. See if you can see them in there. You can kind of see that one. Yeah, you can see both of them. Put some self-tappers to hold the bumper to the fender. When it was the stock bumper with nothing back here, it was fine. I mean, just with some plastic clips underneath. But with all that's going on now, and this probably putting some stresses on this plastic, I didn't want it to pop out all the time. So 2 self-tappers on that side, 2 on that side, and 3 underneath instead of the little plastic things, just to help it out. And you can see, if I get down underneath here, I retained the factory tow hooks. They're not exactly where they lined up, but it's pretty dang close. The only downside is it's kind of touching the plastic right here. It's really tight, but I'm going to put a soft shackle around these anyways, and then that'll actually keep the soft shackle from falling out, which will be really nice. But I love that I got to keep the hooks. And you can see under here, I still have the OEM skid plate. You can kind of see my self-tappers here instead of these plastic things in the holes, but I got to keep my OEM skid plate, so I'm really happy about that. And it all fit up together really good. And then there's the winch plate, and these just kind of terminate into there. But that'll be alright for now. So what's next for the Jeep? Now that we've got the winch installed, which is really going to help us out in recoveries, of course, the next step is to install those Metal Plug TJ dual rate coils. Really excited for that. It's going to lift this up another couple inches, and then we'll have the dual rate so that when we convert to long arms in the future, the spring will actually fall out of the bucket. It's not that big of a deal on the XJ. My XJ that's on long arms, I do have the spring fall, but it has the retainer on the axle side, so I don't ever lose the spring, and it never clears the bump stop, so it stays up in there pretty good. On the WJs, the springs just kind of fall out, and there's not really a lot of retainer because the bump stop is not in the coil, it's kind of beside the coil. But that'll all be for the Metal Plug Springs video. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching this. Hopefully you guys will stay tuned and see what we do to the WJ here. Start taking this thing on adventures and see what it's really capable of, especially compared to the XJ. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. It helps me out a whole bunch to continue doing stuff like this, and I love making videos. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.